Good evening, Super League. I hope you can hear us out there. I'm joined tonight in the studio by our very own Swindon Devils manager, Fifey. Evening, Fifey. How are you?
Evening, the Super League's back! Come on!
The second most excited person to for the Super League to be back. I think Midlothian manager Ian was probably slightly more excited or desperate is perhaps the word I'm looking for. But but anyway, it's good to have you back. Good to have the blog back, and we've got Bolton manager Ryan in the studio as well. Good evening, Ryan.
Good evening, Martin. Good evening, Fifey. Good evening, Super League. Great to be back. It is.
A bit of an extended holiday here, and yeah, it's all go in in Super League Towers. It's taken a little bit of time to reacquaint myself with what's going on and setting up the tactics and everything. But let's have a look at first of all, let's have a look at the table in case anyone had forgotten
Martin,
how.
sorry to interrupt you. I think there's on the live stream that I've got on my PlayStation, there's a kind of video frame report over the top of it. I don't know if that's just me, but like I can't see it on my phone where I'm talking to you, but I can see it on the live stream.
Oh,
Come on.
I'm just gonna check with the people in the comments. Can you see and hear okay? Anything suspicious across the screen? Maybe they can't even hear us. Nah, all good here. Oh, okay. No, apparently it's all good on their side, so I don't
All
know.
right. No idea
Ignore
why that's doing it.
him, just being up north, innit? He's just trying to cause problems.
I'm not sure. Is this?
I'm
Are you in the what was it called again? The shack.
in the chat, but yeah, I think I had the stats for nerds on. That's what I had.
By the way, I
Turn
have to
turn off the blue movie, says Alf from his World Cup account.
say, just before we go into it, having obviously done a couple of videos like the halftime report and the quiz over the course of the break, that home built pub you've got there, mate, is superb.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of jealousy. There's a lot of jealousy from the community. Uh, in
It's just it's a little bit of an escape, really, obviously, because obviously with the baby, the baby monitor works from the shack. But it's also that you can't really hear. Yeah, that we can be as loud as we want down here, and it's not going to wake anyone up upstairs, kind of thing. It's a kind of plus, yeah, it was making the most of being on furlough. But yeah, and now it's one of those. We're back in lockdown in Manchester, so it's you're allowed to meet a friend in a pub, but not actually in their home. So I'm technically kind of.
That's perfect. That's
Yeah,
perfect. Well, anyway, I'm glad you're
nice
getting
deadline.
use out of it. I mean, it would have been a nightmare to put all that effort in to build it, and then they dragged you back into the office 7 days or whatever, 6 days a week, and you'd only get to see it at the weekend, and you wouldn't have time to use it. So, but yeah, but anyway, what do you call it? Shit talk aside, let's have a look at the at the table here. Ardsley Celtic obviously out in front still. They went on a very, very impressive run. It's been a little bit up and down sort of recently, but they're still a couple of points ahead of Churchtown and Midlothian, who are both sort of hot-ish on their heels. Valen, Panathinaikos, and Bolton make up the rest of the top six. And then we've got a chase and pack. I mean, the top six, I'm not sure if there's like a huge story in it. Perhaps a little bit of a surprise that Ardsley, after the season they had last year, have kind of like leapfrogged everyone and gone to the top of the table. But apart from that, it's familiar faces. And although, of course, Bolton Phoenix and Valen were perhaps expected to be a little bit higher, there's only a few points in it in terms of where they are with regards to Churchtown. That brings me to the chase and pack. Chasing, perhaps a little bit of a strong word, given the gap that I've already opened up with 12 games to go. There's 5 points between Hooligans and Asta, who play each other tonight. A draw there could see the gap opening up even further, obviously. And then we've got Dragons, Hornets, Chutley. What do you guys make of the split, Fifey? What do you make of the split that has happened in the league? Is it a little bit like the Premier League, where there's a big boys table and then there's the rest of it?
No, I don't think it needs to be downplayed at all. There's a lot of games left, and there's still lots to play for. You say potentially a lack of stories, with the exception of Ardsley leapfrogging everyone and going to the top. I think you look at it, you've got Midlothian, who have gone from being the best of the worst last season to what people are genuinely considering as title contenders. You've got the Palmer Panaikos Bolton rivalry, who's going to finish on top. I think that's still going to be interesting. You look at the teams down the bottom, including ourselves. There's still so much to play for there. As I said in my videos over the break, I'm looking to finish inside the top 10, and I'm rock bottom. So there's going to be a lot of movement yet. And everyone, as much as I appreciated everyone coming on the halftime reports and stuff, because they got a good reaction. I got sick fed up of everyone saying the top 6 is the top 6 now. No, fuck that. Everyone's chasing it. There's still plenty of points there. Any of those teams could go on a losing run and drop out of it, no problem. So no, I'm not ruling anyone out.
Well, that's that's obviously fighting talk, and fair play for you for going for 10th. I mean, I will point out that it's only 4 points away, so I think you can probably make it. It doesn't seem too unrealistic, but definitely it's good to have an objective there. Ryan, as a representative of the top 6, do you believe that the top 6 is set in stone? Is it just a question of those teams just being that far ahead of everyone else, or what's the reason for the split, do you think?
I said in my my one-on-one with 5P, I think what it needs for that top 6 to change. I don't think that the gap isn't 5. It's only 5 points. Realistically, 7 points. I think it's the pound for Nikos, Alan. It needs 2 things to happen though. It needs one of the bottom 8, most likely Astor or Hooligans, to go on a run, and it also needs one of the top 6 or a couple of the top 6 to fall off a cliff to make that change. I think when I look at that bottom thing, I think Hooligans, because of how rigid they are with the tactics, they're it's win one week, lose the next week. Generally, you can see they've won 6, drawn 1, lost 7. Astor are the only one who I know from history, and last season, they started last season, I've got potential to really go on a winning run and put pressure on the top 6. But again, even with that, it needs 1 or 2 of the top 6 to literally fall off a cliff. No, we know
See,
what.
I'm not having that.
Ardsley, I'll just finish my point, Matt. Ardsley lost it. Ardsley had a massive losing run last season. BTEC have had one this season. Each of those top 6 teams has got a losing streak in them. It's just those 2 things happening together. Go on, 5. You have your point.
We just said, like, what, 90 seconds ago, Martin just said to me, it's fighting talk that I said I'm going to finish in the top 10 and there's 4 points. So he says there's no reason I can't do it. There's 5 points between you and 7th. That extra point isn't going to make a great deal of difference. So if there's every chance that I'm going to finish inside the top 10, there's every chance you're going to fall out, or another team there is going to fall out the top 6. There's still fucking 12 games to go. There's 36.
It's still mathematically possible, but you've got to look at the teams in those positions. And do I look at any of the teams in the bottom 6? I'm excluding Astor and Hooligans here, and think that they can put a run of 4 wins together. And beyond BTEC, who are how many points are BTEC off? 13 points off. Beyond BTEC, I can't see any of those bottom 6 who've got the squad to do that.
No, well, we'll see. We'll see. I reckon at least one of the current top 6 do not finish in the top 6. At least.
Oh, I'm writing that down.
That's going to be a tough. That's a big drop for Midlothian. That would be.
All right. Right.
You're saying Midlothian don't get. Is that what you're trying to say?
I I've said you're the team in 6th. You're the team in trouble.
Well, you are the one closest to the line, but anyway, let's quickly remind ourselves of the results from last time out. Good away win for Bolton Phoenix, obviously, opening up that 5-point gap down to Hooligans, and Swindon another good away win against the Sloths. We've had our summer break. I know you've all had your say in the halftime kind of report that 5 you prepared. You mentioned top 10. is that 10th place? Is that where you see your team going, and what do you make of the signings that you were able to make?
Just to clarify, I said I will finish inside the top 10, so that's anywhere from 9 to 1. I will finish.
Okay.
But yeah, I think as was pointed out by Hodgie earlier, I believe I've made 2 very good signings. Are they the best signings anyone's made in this window? I suppose we'll wait and see. Questions will be asked of me, as they always are. As I pointed out during the Twitter thread earlier, I strongly believe that if certain other managers had the squad I've got, and Ryan was saying there, no one there in the bottom 6 has a squad capable. Potentially, if other managers other than me had my squad, they would easily be in the top 6, in my opinion, because there is some quality there.
Yeah, I mean, change of tactics, a couple of good results. We'll see if the proof is going to be in the pudding, whether the squad is strong enough. But it'll definitely be interesting to see. Definitely be interesting to see with the defensive strengthening that's been made, and a couple of the players starting to put out some slightly better performances than they did early on in the season. I think what are you looking at in your last couple of games? 5 feet. What is it? It's
Well, we've got 2 huge games coming up this week and next week in our initial plan to get off the bottom. And then I think we play. I'm sure we play 3 of the top 6 coming up after that, maybe. So we'll smash them up easily, and then we'll start playing the mid-table sides.
Yeah, so 2 home games. You've had a win and a draw. Hornets and BTEC, who aren't neither of a team in the best of form. So it's winnable games coming up, but we'll see how it goes. Ryan, with regards to you and the Phoenix, solid away win. 1-0 at Hooligans. I mean, not the greatest game, but in the end, in the end, you got the points and sort of reopened that gap down to the teams below you. It's been a little bit hit and miss compared to last season, but still on track for the playoffs. What do you feel about the season so far? Happy enough, or?
Yeah, we've experimented a little bit. Obviously, some new players coming in different positions. Yeah, we had a few injuries this season, which we didn't have last season, if you remember, and we've had absolutely dreadful time with our goalkeepers. Hopefully, Rob Douglas has come in and sorted that out now. Yeah, so it was very much hit and miss first 10 games or so. We just started to, in my opinion, we shored it up at the back a little bit last 4 or 5 games, and just starting to get that wheel turning a little bit now. So if you want to look at the fixtures, and it just seems to be. I just feel like I think we're going to be a tough outfit to beat. I think that's the last 4 games there. Obviously, the big win over Chudley, then 2 really tough away games against Churchtown and Vallon, which we were unexpected to get anything from. Then we've gone away to Hooligans, so it's 3 away games and 5 points, and now we've got a little bit of on paper. Anyway, I'm not saying it's the Super League, but on paper it's a little bit of an easier run coming up, which could propel us up the table.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that myself, actually. I mean, I'll be honest, I've been critical, as it's been well documented, of the title defence thus far. You're looking at that now. There are 4 games there that they'll be expected to win. And if they don't pick up 12 points from those next 4 games, questions will be asked.
I would say 5 games there, definitely, or maybe even 6. But
yeah, that Astra away trip. That's the first tricky one, isn't it? So. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see how both teams. I think both teams are in an interesting position. Obviously, Swindon looking to get off the bottom, made some interesting changes recently, and Bolton as well have started to move things in the right direction, and obviously looking to defend their title. But let's see how it goes tonight. We've got you guys on, so I'm gonna have to move you down the order a little bit, Ryan. So apologies to Rob for that. We usually save them till the end, but
not a chance Rob's watching, is there?
Sorry.
Not a chance Rob's watching. He might join in about 10 o'clock. But
I think he's out of the country at the moment.
The de facto Sloth's manager might be watching tonight. I'm pretty sure he will be. not seen him in the comments yet, but
Yeah.
Citizen Edwards will be about at some point.
I think there's some some kind of maybe some kind of legal case involving the Hoff and Michael Barrymore has led him to to leave the country. I don't know, but we'll see what they've submitted the team and the tactics for the sloths tonight. So we do have something to go on. But initial introductions and sort of conversations over, let's get straight into the action. We have got Aston Athletic against Hooligans coming up, and there's a couple of interesting signings to chat about, to be honest. So let's have a look. Oh, there's one. He needs a new squad number,
He's going to be good.
and these two guys need squad numbers. So why are they all wanted? What the hell? Anyway, I'll have a look at that later. It was a bit of a rush job to get this ready. I will be totally honest, but I have got the right squads in, and I have got the players in the right position. So if we start with Astra, so slightly different look to the lineup tonight because I think I can't remember who it was that was. Is it Zanetti that is missing? Yeah, he's got Biscan in on that right hand side, and then he's got Guilherme, the new Brazilian striker. He's starting up front. Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has left the club. He's gone to Germany to join FC Bayern, and yeah, he's counting on Guilherme being the guy that can finally get him the goals, which has been a little bit of a weak point for Asta this season. I think 20 goals or 21 goals I think they've scored so far this season. Fifey, your thoughts on Guilherme, the Brazilian striker who's joined the club? Do you think he'll make the difference for Asta and get them the goals they've been lacking?
Well, I mean, statistically, he's very good and more than capable of doing what's needed. I think the fact that a lot of the managers were highlighting that transfer in particular during the break tells you there's a lot of concern and worry, which obviously means again he's a good player. So yeah, I think depending on what Alf is doing with him, he will certainly have a big say in what comes in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of Zanetti, big miss for them, but Biscan a capable replacement, you would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Zanetti's going to be a miss, but we know that Alpha's played Biscan in those positions quite a few times, so he's obviously very comfortable with him being there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see how it pans out for them tonight. Yeah, it's gone slightly different with the tactics. Obviously, can't disclose what it is, but as you can see, it's a Plan B currently in place. Ryan, if we have a look at Hooligans, so so he's obviously strengthened. He's brought in Dudu, who is a young and promising and quite active in terms of scoring striker from Brazil, and he's brought in Adrianinho, who's another promising young Brazilian, and he's kept Kennedy, moved him to the right hand side, and yeah, what is it enough to change Hooligan's fortune? Is that what fortunes? Is that where he needed to strengthen to bring in a backup striker, perhaps for Santa Cruz and a slightly better midfielder?
I can understand the striker option there. It is something because he struggled this season. Santa Cruz probably been the best of a bad bunch. I can't understand. I mean, unless Mendes is injured, why he's not starting there. I think it's the South American playboy becoming even more South American with two more Brazilians there. Yeah, Adrianino's a strange one because I think he's got better. I know he's got a hatred for David Beckham, which is probably one of the reasons that this has happened. But I still think that there might have been better options out there. I thought he might have gone for a goalkeeper because I know Kiotis hasn't done the job for him and he's not a big fan of Close. He's brought in this Dudu and then he's stuck Ronaldinho up top. Arguably, you'd think maybe centre attacking midfield be Ronaldinho's best position and put Aymar into midfield. And you think maybe Adrianino, if he's brought him in, he might be overtaking Kennedy, who, although he gets quite a good, lots of goals and assists, his stats are not leave a lot to be desired.
And,
so,
he's not at the best like last sort of 3 or 4 games. He did have a good run, but yeah, it's interesting to see what Adrianinho will bring to the club, and he does have people like, I mean, Beckham is out. Beckham is I think personal problems and all this he's done an Anelka, to be honest. So we probably won't see him again. But he does have
Well,
Deco and a couple of other sort of half decent players that could fill in there. As you mentioned yourself, Mendietta's on the bench. He could have perhaps played instead of Kennedy in that role. He could have put Dudu in up front and put Aymar into midfield with Adrianinho and put Dudu up front there. So with Santa Cruz. So yeah, there's a few things he could have
so
perhaps done
rigid, isn't
different.
it? It's so rigid with Hulls. I mean, I think he's got 3 quality centre defensive midfielders, yet he won't play 2-3 rather than 3-2 in the defence. It is what it is. I mean, we're not just going over old news like kind of thing, but I just think if he just switched it around a little bit, he'd be a really strong team.
Yeah, well, we'll see how he fares up against Alf. Obviously, how can we? Let me see how previous past meetings. So yeah, lots of goals in it. I mean, there was obviously that huge 6-1 at the beginning of the first season where I think Sol Campbell got a red card early on. But Hools have been strong at home. Not so good away, but they have been quite interesting matches. They haven't really cancelled each other out, as you could feel with the 2 narrow formations. I can see Alf is going for a 2-0 home win in his predictions. Ryan, what do you think? Away win, home win? How do you see this one?
I think Astor will win this. The kind of the X factor with Astor is always the goalkeeper. If Lehman doesn't have a howler, then Astor should win. But Alf, similar to myself, has had goalkeeper issues this year. And I'm quite excited to see Guilherme as well. I think he's a good addition in a position where Alf needed to strengthen.
And 5 you sorry, I mean, first game in, already going. 5 your predictions for this one?
It surprised me how overwhelming Astor were as favourites in the vote. I think it all comes down to the new striker. If he plays well, Astor will win. If he doesn't, I can see it ending 0-0.
Well, we're about to find out. We'll kick off the first half and see if we can get some goals from new Brazilians on either side tonight. Adrianinho, obviously, on the hooligan side, and Guilherme on the Astor side. It looks as if hooligans have made a slightly better start to the first half. A couple of good chances for them, but Lehman's not having a howler so far.
I'm seeing that Adrianinho's name quite a lot popping up.
I mean, it is a very influential role, I would say, on the actual pitch. Oh, and there's Guilherme scoring on his debut. A bit of a counter there, a bit of a sucker punch, I think, from Astor and the boys against the hooligans tonight.
I think they were just coming into it, and Alf would be delighted with that. He's ended the half on top as well.
Yeah, he's ended the half on top, and I think Lehman is having a really good first half, to be completely honest. There, let's have a look and see how the goal came about for Guilherme. Smith aims for the blah 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 blah. Won the ball in the air. Is it breezy or blustery? No, it's dry. Oh, that's normally the one when that pops up. Alpha's usually there with a keeper that misjudging the ball, but this is just Guilherme out jumping close. I don't think the hooligans manager will be too happy with that. 5e, Astor's performance in the first half, brilliant, probably in terms of the result, but and the numbers are looking good for the players, but they have been a little bit under the cosh, haven't they, in terms of chances created?
Yeah, I mean, they can't complain that they're ahead. They've taken their chance when it's come. Hooligans have been very much in it. Suggestion of a foul maybe for the goal if he's challenging Kloss in the air. I mean, a lot of goalkeepers would get a free kick for that, no doubt. But yeah, Alf will be delighted, but Hooligans won't feel they're out of it yet.
They can definitely still come back in. Lee Boyer, struggling to find the form that made him such a force to be reckoned with in the early part of last season. Perhaps also part of Astor's problems this season. But anyway, everyone else doing a relatively decent job. On the flip side, Ryan, hooligans and their performance. I mean, they've created chances, but
yeah, it's looking at the strikers only with 6 and 8 touches. Santa Cruz and Ronaldinho, which is obviously going to be an issue. Although they look like they're ahead when it comes to the match stats, it doesn't look like they've outperformed their opposition. Similar, they're not really. They're not pulling up any flags, are they? just trying to see what the new boys are doing. Adrianino seems to have been involved probably more than anyone else, but hasn't really created too much.
No, a lot of
key
good passes for him.
2 key passes, one from Aymar and Kennedy. I think Thiago were disappointed with that. I think the only thing he'll like, he'd probably thought he was on top at half time, which it looked like he is in the match stats. But when he looked at his team, he's going to think, what's going on?
Yeah, bit of a bit of a midfield battle going on here. Not much play down in Hooligans half, but Astor have been effective. The one time they had a good chance, they've obviously had a couple, but one proper chance, and they took it and put it away. Guillermo put that away. We'll see what changes in the second half if Hooligans can find a way back in it, if they can get a little bit more of a return for their efforts, or if Astor are able to hold on or even build on that lead. They did finish the first half best. Oof, that was Brooke Inky. Obviously, he's had a track record of scoring regularly for Astor in the past. Definitely.
A little bit quicker this half, isn't it?
Yeah, quite strong. Astor definitely the first half of the second half. Astor have been by far the better side. Hooligans failing to create anything, but perhaps coming into it right here at the end. Still pretty much all Astor.
Yeah, saw Adrianino's name a couple of mentions, but no chances created.
Yeah, I mean they continue to create Aymar as well, but it looks as if Lehmann did his best living wall impression there at the end. I mean it wasn't too dominant in the second half by Hooligans, but they'll be disappointed not to have gotten any goals out of that one. Let's have a look at the Astor performance. So Jens Lehmann, I mean, Alf mentioned it himself. Really, he has struggled with the keepers, but Lehmann getting a man of the match performance. I think he was perhaps. I mean, he was probably the best, one of the, if not the best, then one of the best keepers last season. And apart from one or two howlers this season, he's been incredibly solid again. Fifey, what do you make of that? I mean, it looks pretty much the way it did at halftime.
Yeah, you look at the ratings they've got, and they've all done their jobs really well. I think Ryan suggested at the start that Alf has struggled with the goalkeepers throughout the season, and for Lehmann to get his place back and to be putting in man of the match performances justifies Alf's decisions. It was an even game. The stats showed that. I kind of felt Hooligans were going to score at some point, but it just didn't come. And that is a massive result for Alf, and it just puts just a little bit of pressure on the top six now to all go out and get results again.
Yeah, I mean they'll be the top six will probably be. I mean it's the second best or worst result for them. I mean Hooligans obviously the closer team, so a win for them would have been worse. A draw would probably have been better, but Astra obviously closing that. Well, they're on 20 now, so I guess that's still okay for the top six. But yeah, it's a start of a possible run, obviously, which we spoke about could be needed. If we have a look at Hooligans and their performance, Close did actually an okay job overall. Sunday Olise, who's been doing a kind of a good job early on this season, has kind of fallen a little bit behind. Ronaldinho not enjoying playing as a striker. What do you make of this one, Ryan?
Yeah, again, as I mentioned at halftime, the stat which kind of jumps out to me is the lack of touches from the strikers. Roque Santa Cruz up for 5 headers and didn't win any of them. Ronaldinho, fantastic player, but out of position, only getting a 6. I think if he's going to take some positives, I think Adrianino had a lot of the ball, so which he wanted from his new man. But yeah, I don't think he's looking at much else really. He's given away a lot of chances with 3 centre half. He's not created enough clear-cut chances for his strikers. The fact that they've had as many shots, 6 shots on target, suggests maybe a few long shots from midfield, considering Ronaldinho and Santa Cruz haven't touched the ball. Yeah. I mean, I think overall, obviously, he's going to be disappointed at 0 points. But yeah, I don't think his performance of his players merits much more than that.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, you can say when the opposition goalkeeper gets a 9, you create 6 shots on target away from home. But then if you look at the performance of the individual players, then that tells a story as well, doesn't it? So a good start to the evening for Aston Athletic, and Alf will be happy with that. Next up, we do have BTEC, and they're at home to the league leaders.
Yeah, this is a marquee matchup, isn't it? I mean, pre-season, we'd have been thinking maybe BTEC might be up at the top of the league, and the way that Ardsley finished last season, you were thinking that maybe they might be somewhere near the bottom. It's the complete opposite. Ardsley are the ones with the target on the back, the ones to beat. BTEC are on an absolute dreadful time. So it'd be interesting to see what if there's any change for the second half of the season. He look like he's changed his formation too much. But
so if you want to do the home team for this one, then we can alternate them. What do you make of I mean, he can't really put. I mean, sometimes I could have been critical of BTEC in the past and said, oh, I should have maybe done this, should have maybe done that. I mean, I look at this side, I'm kind of struggling to see. I mean, would you do anything? Would you do anything different? I guess is the question with the players that you have at your disposal. I mean, you've got Cordoba on the bench, Constantino, Lucas Neal, there's Danielson as well. Would we see any of them in action if you were in charge, Ryan?
I think Cordoba may get a game. I think I've probably go with the maybe three centre midfielders, or I don't know. I can't say I'd do too much different. Maybe you know me, I'm a big fan of one up top. I play two every now and again, but one up front is maybe something I'd choose if I've only got Palermo, Pizarro, Constantino to choose from. I like Agahoa though. I think he's great in that position. Emerson in that position, one of the best on the game. I prefer Dyer at right wing back, but when you've got Contra and Zero Burst as your wing backs, then that's probably the best position for Dyer. I can't say. I mean, looking at the actual player positions, he's doing too much wrong.
Yeah. There's a bit of love for pushing Kieran Dyer up to a central midfielder as well from some of the comments.
I can understand that. Or even I think looking at maybe one of the formations that Chudley played last year, or even Palmer played last year, maybe at the five across defensive midfield, and maybe try something different that way to make them a little bit more solid. Because I mean, if they're not scoring, the least they can do is really try and not concede. And if they have five across there, because Emerson can definitely play defensive midfield, can't he?
Yeah, or you could move everyone. I mean, you could move everyone up one. You could play like Chris Mack plays this season with the five, and Palmer did as well for summer last season, played with five across the middle as well, where he played with Salihamidzic and Jogatos. They were up there occasionally as well. So, but I mean, we won't lay in too much into BTEC. He gets a lot of advice, Ian. So I think we'll leave it at that in the interest of time as well, and see what comes out in the second half. Fifey, have you got anything to add very, very briefly to the BTEC story, or do you want to talk us through the Ardsley side?
Well, just one observation I was going to make. There's been a lot of talk about how the best of Emerson hasn't come out yet in that centre midfield role. He's not doing what, say, for example, Barry Ferguson does for Churchtown. And I was just going to say, is there a debate to be had about maybe dropping him back one and having another midfielder in that position and letting Emerson play further back?
I mean, it's possible. I think there's a genuine lack of MCs performing in the league. We have got the very, very few world-class MCs that are in the game. They are in the league, but there aren't really any of them that are kind of setting the world alight. I think Veron, when Ryan has played him in is it Veron that he's played relatively well for you in that MC role, hasn't he, Ryan?
I play more MC than I do AMC.
So we have had a couple, but I think in general, I mean, you can just look at Donati, for example. I mean, he's come in and done a brilliant job, but that's only in 3 games, and that's all we've really seen of him. So, but we'll see. But we'll see how it turns out with the central midfielders. Richie Valens missing from the Super League side. Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. Deliberately so, I think. Sorry. Oliveira, is that right? I want to double check this. I think so. Sorry, Fifey, talk us through the Astor side. Who's been standout players for you this so far? Kufre has got to be one of them, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's been well documented, it was Kivu and was it Terry that they had 2 centre backs injured for a long period at the same time, and that actually coincided with their quality run they were on. So Kufre's right up there for me. But this has the makings of a really good game, because on paper these were identified as 2 of the best squads. Now we know BTEC have struggled and Ardsley have done really well, but player for player, these are 2 outstanding squads, and they should put on a feast of football here.
Having said that, Patrick Vieira is out suspended for this game, and he's got Gonzalo Oliveira, who I believe is maybe like a Tomadera teammate or something. He's playing tonight. What do you make of him? What do you make of his inclusion, Fifey, in the squad?
I mean, we all know when you look at some of the players who have found fame from the game, whether they're myth or not, you can't read too much into the stats all the time. But I'd never be looking at a defensive midfielder with a tackling of 9.
Yeah, I mean,
marking as well.
Yeah, I mean, as Neil says in the comment, nice to see Ardsley give it the Make-A-Wish kid a debut in the place of Patrick Vieira. So, but we'll see how he performs. We'll see how he performs. Haven't had a look at the lineups for both sides. Fifey, your prediction for this one? Can BTEC end their current run of not brilliant results? Or do you think Ardsley will continue? Let's see. Yeah, they are still on the run.
You know what? In my notebook that I've got, where I just write little things down, I did put that I was surprised that BTEC were the favourites in the pre-game vote. But it wouldn't surprise me if they did win, to be fair, because their squad is good enough. Can you bet against Ardsley? I don't know. Let's go for a 1-1 draw.
Right, away win predicted by Stephen Wright, by Scott. Alf says 2-1 home win. Ryan, what do you reckon?
I've backed BTEC for the last 7 weeks and they've lost every week. But I think on paper, I've just got to back them again. I mean, because they're the stronger 11. I would say, just to sum up the stuff you just said then, I think BTEC have got one of the strongest starting 11s in the Super League. I don't think the rest of that squad's up to much cut, which is an issue if he has injuries. But I think that starting 11 is fantastic. And yeah, I think he's got to be favourite.
Let's have a look and see how BTEC get on tonight. They could do with an early goal. They could do with going ahead. I think that's also been a bit of an issue. They've not really dominated any games, even though they've had good games or games where they have been better. They've not gone in and scored 2 and sat back and chilled out. Obviously, as we can see from the table, they've not done that recently, and it looks as if they're just keep banging on the goal in this one as well, creating chances, having shots, but just failing to break Ardsley down so far. Clearly on top in terms of chances created, I think.
They look so strong, but again, they've not scored. And it's a half-empty stadium as well at home.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the action stats as well. I mean, clearly in BTEC's favour. Ryan, Kieran Dyer doing well. I mean, they're doing okay. They're not setting the world alight with the score, with the stats, but it's only half time. Decent enough performance, I guess, like, as usual, just a goal that's missing.
Yeah, and I think I watched the text there, and I think, it's just amazing that BTEC haven't scored. And I looked at it and thought, this is probably about 9 shots, 7 on target, and then you flicked onto it a second ago, it's just 4 shots, 3 on target. So you're looking, that's the issue. They're having a lot of the ball, although it doesn't look like it with the passing stats, and they're not creating too much, because they were definitely the stronger team. Again, the defence looks like it's held tight. They're the stronger ones. Again, it's the forwards who've had a lot of touches, but not clinical enough. So yeah, that's his issue, and I know he's
doing what he can to address it, but
yeah, whether it being by hook or by crook, he's looking to address that. and it seems to be as soon as he can address that, the better.
Yeah, you would say so. Oliveira getting set. Who someone said said 10 tackles. I think he's on 7 already, so well on course for that, and picking up a 7. Landro obviously so far being the most important player for Ardsley. Fifey, how do you see that for first half from Ardsley? Pretty terrible, to be honest, but it could have an Ardsley 1-0 written all over it, couldn't it?
The attacking players aren't involved at all. But I mean, I know I said what these two teams were capable of, but the one thing I didn't mention, which I should have really thought about, is you've got a really good BTEC team that have been terrible this season in terms of results, so therefore the morale's not going to be very high. They've not been outclassed in many games, but they're just not getting the results. And then you've got a very good Ardsley team who have just gone off the boil a bit of late. So you look at that and you think a lot of players are sort of doing bits without excelling, and then like I said, the attacking players aren't doing anything yet, so they need to work out the puzzle.
Mm-hmm. And will that be unlocked in the second half, given that they only created 2 chances in the first half? That's pretty low for Ardsley. I mean, credit to BTEC, but who do you see 5 as their key player in the second half, if they're to get something here?
I know there's quite a few of you who like sort of symmetry and looking for specific bits. And one thing I noticed when you had the BTEC stats up was all the players lined up on the left-hand side were the ones scoring 6s. So I was just looking at the Ardsley players on the right-hand side to see if they were marking them out the game or not. You've got Zauri there with a 7. So they're not overly excelling. It's so because you look at it's Zay Roberto, it's Milevski, and I think it's the striker on the left-hand side for BTEC that isn't doing particularly well. So
they've both got 7.
The players aren't working too hard to stop them. So I think it's a midfield battle that someone needs to win to get a result.
Well, it's certainly up for grabs. 0-0 after the first half. Plenty of chances for BTEC, nothing for Ardsley. We'll kick off the second half, and we'll see if BTEC can find a winner and end their run here, or if Ardsley will do what they've done on several occasions this season and scrape a 1-0 victory. There's Agahawa with a disallowed goal. That's probably the 15th of the season. But Emerson, who hasn't been doing particularly well so far this season, steps up and puts BTEC ahead. So important 1-0 lead for them. Let's see if they're able to hold on to this. Obviously, they are still looking like the better side, to be honest. Not much fight back from Ardsley Celtic so far. With only 10 minutes to go, it's going to be a tricky one for Ardsley to create something now. Free kick awarded, taken care of. They try again, but nothing given.
Yeah, it looks like there's only going to be one winner.
Just about. Squeaky bum time, last chance. Oof. Important save from Buffon there. Can Buffon do it again? Yes, he can. Buffon keeps them out. And BTEC gets their first win in many. Thanks to Emerson and thanks to a brilliant performance from the BTEC side there. And I mean, it got a little bit exciting there at the end, but that's important for BTEC. It's important for the excitement of who's going to top the table. Obviously, very very tricky away game for Ardsley, and they've fallen at that hurdle there. Ryan.
Yes.
Let's give you've been waiting. You've been back in BTEC for months. Since May you've been back in BTEC, and now the stage is yours.
Yeah, it's an all-out performance. You look at every single player there above 20 passes. Every play, no bad performances, and they've ground it out. Again, even the strikers have gotten 9 and 8 tonight, although they haven't had much to. I mean, they haven't had many efforts challenging the goalkeeper, but it did look like there was only ever going to be one winner in that game, and they just put pressure on. And one of the players who we've mentioned earlier has kind of underperformed this season, Emerson. He's come through for them, and he needs more performances like that. If he's going to climb the table, I think he's got a long way to go, but he's definitely got the squad, or the team, as I kind of alluded to before, which can challenge.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, impressive performances all round. Nesta, captain, getting the man of the match.
Yeah,
Brilliant defensive performances. Martin Palermo getting an assist in not scoring but getting an assist, which is also good for him because he's had a bit of a dry spell recently, as has many of the BTEC players. But literally no one put a foot wrong. I mean, Agahao got a 7, had a goal disallowed, but apart from that, it's got to be a very very satisfying result for BTEC this one.
it's one of those you wouldn't change a thing now if you had that performance. And I don't know who he's got next, but yeah, I'd be thinking, right,
Mm-hmm.
has he got you next? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 game.
I wouldn't be too confident, Fifey, if he's going to go with that lineup. That's the thing. He might switch it all around, and he might put Lucas Neal in for a bit of a run out, but I can't see it after that performance.
Yeah, and 6 game in a row with a disallowed goal for him. Fifey, what went wrong for Ardsley in this one?
Well, Tristan getting a 5 for 1.
Doesn't help.
Their performance was fucking dreadful for 2. And yeah, just BTEC finally getting what they deserved. My own personal requirements for what I needed from BTEC aside, it was a superb result, superb performance. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. And now you're starting to think, yes, okay, you don't want to overreact to one game, but when you look at the drop in performance over the last couple of weeks, are they struggling to cope with the pressure of being at the top, Ardsley?
Yeah, well, it could be. They've not had the best results recently. I mean, they're obviously without Patrick Vieira. He's such an important player for them. Although they did put in quite a lot of tackles, Donati and Oliveira. You can see they weren't really winning the tackles, which is perhaps a bit of an issue for them. Defensively, not the worst display, but I think if you are struggling to win the midfield battle with Patrick Vieira not being there, then you're also going to struggle to create the quality of chances. And as you can see, I mean, no key passes from Oliveira, no key passes from Said, one from Nikiforenko, and as you mentioned there, Tristan getting a 5, but Tomadera not even having a shot on goal. So yeah, a bit of a poor one for Ardsley, but I mean, I was going to say they're still top of the table, but obviously Churchtown can change that later. But it's still been a decent start to the season for them, and obviously with 11 games to go, there's still every chance that they'll be in the playoffs, I think.
I mean, yes, no one's going to suggest that that's the case, but I think what we need to move away from at this stage of the season is saying it's been a good start by someone, because we're not at the beginning of the season anymore. It's the midway point, and now the table's kind of showing where teams are likely to finish. And this is what we were alluding to before about who's going to fall away, who's going to put runs together. And Ardsley can't be affording too many more performances like this or results like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, let's see what next week brings for both sides. Obviously, a good win for a strong win for BTEC here, and yeah, Ian, congratulations to Ian. It's been a while since I've said that, but there it is. Good squad selection and a deserved result. We move on.
Congratulations to Ian. I would have said that to highlight something else quickly, but I know because we need to crack on. But that's Hodges had back-to-back losses against teams outside the top 6, which is something he should be looking. Well, he should be quite concerned with if he wants to stay at the top.
Yeah, that's not exactly the form that you like. But I mean, you can have a dip mid-season and then pick it back up again in the end. We'll see how that plays out for them. Next up, we've got last season's finalists, Valiant United. They're away to Dragon Destroyer. So we'll get this one on. And Valiant United, one of the Dragons and Valiant, 2 teams who haven't added to their squad in the window so far. Dragons unchanged 5-3. Dragons beat Ardsley 4-3 last time out in that quite dramatic game in the last round before the break. They've got Brosek there. Keane was firing on all cylinders. Are you surprised that they didn't pick anyone up in the window?
No, because with all due respect to both of them, great guys as they are, they're not overly interested, are they? They're not overly involved other than picking their team. So it doesn't surprise me that they've not gone out and strengthened. Both teams probably, particularly Dragons, could have done with it in certain areas. This team's very ultra attacking when you look at the arrows, and and without even seeing it, you would expect Valen to pick them apart because they'll have no one left in defence.
Well, it'll be it'll be interesting to see if that comes true. Mark Viduka found some form, scored a couple of goals. He's 6 in 8 for this season, so things are turning around for him. Brosek is doing pretty well as well. I think that perhaps the logic was that that it would be difficult to strengthen, considering the players already there and considering the very very few players that are kind of left on the open market. But as you know yourself, you managed to pick up at least one. I would suggest who could pretty much walk into the Dragon side. I think the guy Chris would probably start here, although I'm not entirely sure. But he could have perhaps done that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Dragons go for the rest of the season. They've obviously got some good players in there. Interesting to see if Keane can actually get the ball rolling as he did last season. With regards to Valen United, unchanged in terms of personnel. They haven't brought anyone in. I think they tried to get a young Brazilian striker, but the board found him too expensive. I think a couple of players have been looking at this kid, Bruno or something like that. Maybe is his name, a young Brazilian striker. I think there's been quite a few bids out for him. All of them accepted and all of them cancelled by the by the clubs for being unrealistic because they're not willing to sell him under something ridiculous, and he's valued at 1 million. So he's not going anywhere at the moment. Let's have a look at the Valen side. A little bit of a different formation from Valen tonight. Not the three on top that we've seen before when he's gone wide, but a little bit more of a conventional, if you want to call it that, wide formation that he's trying here. Ryan, what do you make of Valen's tactic here?
Yeah, it's the same players, isn't it? But in different positions. He's not like he's probably chucked a few reserves in. So yeah, I think we'll expect the same up top from Saviola, Shevchenko. Totti's not in his best position, but I think he's strong wherever you put him. I think he'll be. I mean, the players should see him through. That's why I always, when I think about Valen, I think that if he puts them 11 players out, then he's most likely got a better 11 than anyone else. I don't think the tactic is too out there. He's for champ, two at the back's fine. He's got three defensive midfielders. Usually you'd have a couple of those wide. It does look a bit Timmy. I think Ian's just put in the comments it's something that Timmy played last year, I think. But yeah, I can't see him having any problems. Cafu, I don't know how strong he is in that position. I think he's played him really, really effectively in where Yeremis is playing today. But obviously he's adapted to play Yeremis there and put Cafu out wide right, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's hoping for a little bit more in return from Cafu in terms of assists. I mean, his average rating is spectacular, but he's not really.
As many assists, no.
He's not really been assistant as he perhaps was. Was he assistant? He was assistant a fair amount last season. Yeah, he had 9 last season, so not really got that much out of it. But we'll obviously see what it brings to the table tonight, and it means that he can play both. He can play both Serene and Lisa Rasu. I think he's been sort of alternating with them as well. So yeah, and Totti, I think he had a good game last time out. He's not been bad. I mean, 5 assists and 3 goals, not a bad return for him. But it's obviously been a lot about Saviola and all about Shevchenko with his 11 goals. I think still top scorer in the league. In terms of predictions, Alf says a 1-0 home win, I think. Brian, what do you reckon?
I think the away team have got it. Probably 1-3, 3-1 Valen.
And Fifey for you, Dragons or the Swedes?
You know what? I'm going to agree with Ryan. I've actually put down here 1-3. Dragons got a massive vote in the pre-match Twitter poll, which I think this was one of them ones where people went heart over head on what they wanted to happen. I can see Valen winning this comfortably.
Well, that's only one way to find out, and that's to click the kick-off match button. So that's what we are going to do, and we'll see if it kicks in the boys. I don't know. I would always worry about Brosek and his potential impact on the game. And Mark Viduka in top form could be a difficult fella to stop as well. Saviola pulls one back. It's been end-to-end stuff in the first 6 minutes.
This is a bit more Super League, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say that. We've not had that many sort of proper Super League games recently. Dragons were involved in a 4-3 last week, which was a little bit more like a Super League of old. But And then it kind of calmed down after that, obviously.
I shouldn't have said anything.
Sort of a few random shots on target. Giggs injured.
Oh, it's a tough one for them.
We'll
He's so
do
good for them.
Van der Meijde. We'll do that one. Where did he go, Ryan Giggs? There he is. Probably put Keane over on that side, considering Van der Meijde is right only. I think that's what we're going to do. So let's see if that has a positive or a negative impact. I would say negative impact. Oh, that's going to have a negative impact. Interesting.
It's interesting, doesn't it? It makes it more of a contest, definitely.
Is that his second red of the season, Roy Keane, perhaps? Let's see. Yeah, he's had one red before, and 8 yellows. So, I mean, a 3-1 away win. That looks like a brave prediction now. I mean, I know they're missing Giggs, but at least they have Van der Meijde might as well maybe not have replaced them, but definitely in with a shout now with Roy Keane not being there.
I should have put Michael Owen on rather than Van der Meijde. Just give him a run out to see what, because he's just frozen out in the cold there, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't think Michael Owen's got a good reputation at Dragons at the moment. Fifey, what do you make of Dragons' performance in that first half? Tomasi really the key player for them. Let's see in terms of, they've not really created a huge amount. They have been down in Valen's part of the pitch a little bit, but not a great performance from Dragons in that first half.
No, it's a piss take. It's going to be one of them nights. You can see it already. You've got BTEC winning. Dragons are now playing against 10 men. I can see it's written in the stars. It's all coming up rosy for Bolton, that all the teams around them are dropping points and all the teams near me are fucking picking up points. It's ridiculous. Even with 10 men, I'm still backing Valen to get a result here, because you can see from the match stats and the individual player stats there, Dragons aren't playing overly well, with the exception of one player.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely not created a whole bunch in the first half. 2 shots, one of them on target. I mean, that went in, so that was good, obviously. But yeah, you're right. So I take it you don't expect you're still going with your Valen prediction.
I think I have to, but for the fact that they are playing with 10 men. So if it ends 1-1, I wouldn't be too upset. But of course, I can see Dragons winning because it's the way it's going already. It's piss take.
56% fitness for Giggs, so not the worst. Keane will obviously miss the next match. Ryan, what do you make of? Cafu? I said maybe he put him on the right hand side to get an assist, and he did get an assist. I was going to say, what have they got to do in the second half? I think they've just got to keep doing what they're doing at the moment, haven't they? It seems to be working okay.
Yeah, it depends how much of an impact on fitness it has towards the end of the game. But looking at those conditions there, they've got plenty in the bag. They still look the stronger side even after the red card. It looks like it's Shevchenko and Totti having the quieter of the games. They look solid at the back. Lizarazu's having a strong game. Cafu, as you said, so those 2 players who he relies on a lot for assists are getting them. They're getting good performances.
Yeah, I was going to say, pointed out in the comments there, Keane won 8 out of 9 tackles and completed 8 out of 9 passes as well. It's not often you see that you see identical passing and tackling stats, but obviously we won't be seeing Keane anymore.
Awful.
I don't know, killed someone maybe. I don't know. Swearing at Jamie Carragher. Oh no, he's not playing tonight. That would have been a good one. Carragher's at Dragons, actually. Reckless challenge by Roy Keane with 2 feet on Viduka. That sounds familiar, so that's fair. That's fair enough. But what do you reckon in terms of results, Ryan? Valen, are they still going to be strong enough even without Keane in the second half, or is this Dragons' chance to get one in?
It is Dragons' chance. It's 100% Dragons' chance. But you're asking me what I think will happen. I think it's still more likely that Valen are going to win this than Dragon. I probably would edge for a draw, probably similar to Fifey in that. But I think out of the 2 teams, Valen more likely for the win.
Well, let's find out. Good early start in the second half for Robbie Keane, who's perhaps finding his form from last season. We'll have to wait and see. If he does that, then people who play Dragons could be in trouble because he was really influential last year.
We're definitely seeing a lot more red now, and it's time's passed very quickly.
Yeah, I think they've just been passing the ball around. Really, they got that early goal. Dragons 2-1 victory for the Welsh side. They got an early goal in the second half, and it looked to me like they pretty much just passed the ball around for the rest of that. I mean, they had a couple more chances, but nothing serious. And Valen just couldn't break them down, being that man down. That was their downfall, unfortunately. Fifey, you won't be happy with this because this doesn't do you any favors in terms of results. But apart from that, strong performance. Hope for the teams near the bottom that they can beat the big boys.
They were playing 10 men. Roy Keane has fucked over his own team there. Like's been pointed out in the comments, he won all these tackles but one, and the one he didn't win was when he fucking two-footed Viduka. And now he's cost his team the game. I hope that there is like Roy Keane's punditry on David De Gea the last few weeks. I hope there's someone there to fucking roll at Roy Keane for what he's done to Valen United in that game.
I thought you were going to ask for Stuart's inquest there for a second, and my Formula One brain in gear. It literally sounded as if you were going to request a Stuart's inquest. Is that what it's called that they have? Anyway, yeah, but apart from that, apart from Roy Keane, obviously not doing his teams any favors, I think I'll say a little bit positive about Dragons. Then I think it was a relatively good performance from them. I mean, you hope that in the second half you can turn things around. I think Guardiola got a little bit of hatred in the comments earlier from someone who clearly doesn't know the genius of the man and his 680 average so far this season. But he stepped up. He did a good job. Simon Davies has been a very shrewd signing from them, coming from BTEC for a lot of money. But that's his 6 assists in 14, 15 games. A good performance from him. So and Rogerio, who's yeah, I mean, he's let in a bunch of goals, but his average rating is pretty high. So I guess that's something. Not very good at completing passes, though. I have to say, it was a bit of a bugbear for me when it comes to goalkeepers. Ryan, in your expert analysis, did anything go wrong for Valen apart from Roy Keane getting sent off and that kind of costing them the game?
No, it's been mad. He capped him 10 and man of the match. You would say that, yeah, after the Roy Keane red card, they kind of lacked any bite. They never looked like they were going to score. I did back them to be the more favourites of the two after half time. Obviously, I was definitely incorrect there because Dragon had got the goal and sat back, as you alluded to. I don't think he can have a go at any particular players apart from Roy Keane as to the reason that they haven't really had any more attacks. But yeah, just his big players haven't really performed. You've got Shevchenko and Totti, you think are his main men going forward, and they've just not been at the races today.
Yeah, it was really Cafu the only one who stood out for them. Saviola, of course, did okay as well. But if Shevchenko's not really in goal scoring mood and Roy Keane is sent off, then it's always going to be tricky. But yeah, solid 3 points for Dragons there, and that takes them up to I think 20 points. So they are level with Astor now. I don't know how they stand in terms of goal difference, but it's got to be kind of relatively. Oh no, they had a shocking start to the season, Dragons, so they are worse off on goal difference, obviously. But yeah, on 20 points as well. So interesting result for so far this evening. The Brazilian MacDuff.
Performance there, to be fair.
Sorry?
I was just saying, because I went off on a bit of a rant there. Just credit to the Dragons for, backs to the wall defending there. They did well.
Yeah, well, you gotta play you gotta play and occasionally beat the good teams. They had a dramatic 4-3 win against Ardsley, and they've had perhaps a bit of a lucky 2-1 win here. But it's there's not just skill to this. There's also a fair bit of luck, and maybe they've had a little bit tonight. Anyway, next up we have, and I can see that we have got both the manager and the assistant manager for Midlothian in the comments tonight. We've got Midlothian against Chudley. I think I've got all this. Yeah, this is fine. There's a new signing.
They've changed his first name again.
Never heard of Soroczynski. Looking forward to see him play. Oh my goodness, you are in for a treat if you've never heard of Soroczynski. And here is Mr. Jacques. How has Maldini not got a position in there? Oh, well, we'll get to Churchtown. We'll get to Churchtown, guys. Don't worry. We've got Midlothian against Chudley up first. Who had the home team? Ryan, you had Fife, you had Dragons. So, Ryan, you get the home team. Midlothian Football Club. What a coincidence. What do you make of Midlothian Football Club and the way they've kind of gate crashed the top three so far?
What a gang of world beaters they are. Yeah, it's the 271. They've gone back to that. Shug Dulage, Archie Back, and Jock Petkovic. I tell you what they have done. They've done absolutely fantastic with getting players from outside the league. I think absolutely. Those three, Dulage and Archie Back, have been bang on. Even Vieri, he's probably, in my opinion, number one striker on the game first couple of seasons. He's picked him up relatively cheap from what do you call it? From what are they called? And what do you call it? He's been absolutely fantastic last few weeks. What's not to like? Great manager, great assistant. Not too sure which way around that works nowadays, but
especially considering that apparently an administrative error has been made by the assistant who screwed up the arrows. We'll see if that comes back to to haunt anyone.
I love how these new characters that we've got in the chat. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Are all Midlothian fans.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they are Scally fans or whatever they are.
Well, obviously, Potato Mourinho is the current chairman of the newest version of the race. This is his first time on, and he's just sort of decided. I tried to persuade him who not to be fans of for different reasons, but I think as soon as I told him the Rocks was involved, he decided he was a Midlothian fan. Steve Wright is actually a Devils fan. Midlothian's just his second club.
No one's a Devils fan. Not even you're a Devils fan, surely.
Everyone's a Devils fan. I've told you before, I'm the most talked about Super League manager and club, and I've never achieved anything.
Right.
You've had your fun. Let's have a look at
to finish off what I was saying, really. Oh, joking, mate. Back
up. So apart from joking aside, I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. So I'm not entirely sure what you said.
That's because everything right is this fucking bollocks.
I knew it would descend into this. But in all fairness, Christian Vieri, 9 goals in 14. Archie Back, 8 goals in 13. They've brought in Petkovic, who has a fine selection of 20s. Van der Vaart, a young player coming in, getting a couple of assists. Roberto Carlos has done really well. Dulage is probably, apart from Cafu, one of the best right backs in the league. They've done well, haven't they? It's a strong team. It's a strong lineup, and I would say well deserved that they're in the top 3.
I completely agree, and I think I might have said, I think pretty much every transfer that they've done since the start of the Super League, I think they've had the better end of, or definitely not come off much worse. I know he did Alex for Kuhl with me, but Kuhl's not really been at the races for Phoenix. So yeah, you've got Carlos in playing well, Dulage back, Petkovic from outside the league, Vieri from inside the league. He's made a lot of transfers, and yeah, they've all done well. I think the big change in form, I think, from the start of the season has been down to the goalkeeper. I think with a lot of clubs, the goalkeeper's been a key position this year. And Given has really come into his own second half of this first half of the season, which is why Midlothian are where they are. They're a threat. They're probably more of a threat now than they were last season, 100%. Sorry to go off on one again. I do apologize.
No. That's absolutely fine. It's good that they can get a bit of credit as well. And I think especially Shea Given, considering the drama they had with goalkeepers in that playoff with Churchtown. I think was it Headman or the other one who got sent off?
Yeah,
And the other one conceded a bunch or whatever. It was kind of terrible for them. So to have a keeper with 5 eights straight, 5 straight 8s, perhaps even more. I don't remember, but that's definitely a good position. Fifey, in the interest of time, we'll jump over to Chudley, who's got a bit of a different look to them this week, or I can't remember. But it's certainly in terms of lineup, they've got Lee Chun So in there. They've got the new guy, Carlos Jacques in there. They have they have a few folk in there. Is the Maria back on the right hand side? What do you make of the Chudley lineup, Fifey?
It's a good looking squad. It's not their best 11 players. We know that. But as has been said pre-match, he's now experimenting. He's already given up on the top 6. So he's looking to build for next season. I think the one thing that can't be missed, though, in this game is there's this fake Yorkshire-Scotland rivalry that they've all sort of come up with as a narrative. And regardless of how cool, calm, or cocky they come across, whether it's Ian, whether it's Rox, whether it's Scott, they're desperate to win this game. Both teams are desperate to win just for the opportunity to put out a funny Twitter video. I mean, they both really want to win this to carry on the story of the rivalry, and I don't think Chudley have put out the best team to go and do that. So, but then maybe he was concerned about losing because of the form they've been in, and he can then use it as an excuse early.
So it's like a double bluffy kind of conspiracy on top of a on top of a big cake.
Yeah.
on top of a big experimental cake. Well, that sounds promising for the for this match coming up. Anyway, I mean, it'll be interesting. Obviously, I'm quite interested to see Estebaria. I'm not sure why he's not. He was so good at Churchtown, and he was so good at Chudley when he arrived. But this season, he's just been a little bit off the pace. But we'll see if he can create something tonight. He's one of the players that I personally would like to see doing a little bit better. And I'm interested to see obviously the new boy here, Carlos Jacques, and Lee Chun So, who I think already had a game and scored a goal. So yeah, interesting. Predictions, gentlemen. Fifey, you first.
It was very tight in the vote. 56-44 to the home team. I'm going to stick with what I predicted before and say Midlothian will win 2-0.
Away win, says Steve, and away win for Chudley. Scally picking up a 7-1 victory there. Ryan, what do you think?
I think Midlothian will just about scrape it. Probably go for a 2-1. I would put out just a real quick snippet that both teams are playing 2 attacking midfielders who have been signed from outside the league, which has got to be a rarity.
Which has got to be a first, yeah. That's back and Petkovic up against Lee Chun So and Carlos Jacques. So obviously both team not reaching their limit, because I'm not sure if there is a limit, but certainly with 3 foreigners in the match day squad, it's getting a little bit sort of perhaps should look at Australians next time. Ian doing the business and bringing in Lucas Neal. I think we're left with people like Tony Wiedmar and Kevin Muscat now. If anyone wants any Australians, Bresciano perhaps as well, but we'll see. Anyway, let's kick off the first half and see how it goes. Let's see if the missing arrows will have any kind of impact, or if it'll work in their favor. Who knows?
I also think, banter aside, this is the most me and Ryan have agreed on a single evening of football, in terms of we're backing the same teams to get the similar results.
That's probably true. Christian Vieri, anyway, in there, he's chasing down Shevchenko in the top scorer chart, and obviously doing his best to upset Chudley's evening, getting an early goal from Midlothian there. And they're probably going to be hard to break down now. Oh, there's a penalty. Vieri misses it.
Great save.
Andre, another signing from outside the league that Scott has made for Chudley. He's obviously doing his best to try and improve the squad, but it is difficult, as you probably both know, to find players outside the league. But Andre seems to have solved the horrendous issues that Timmy faced last season and that Scott has faced as well with goalkeepers. Midlothian. Well in control of this one. David Fox. David Fox isn't in the database, unfortunately, Mr. Mourinho, because the English league is not selected. So although we are on maximum database, then there's a lot of new youth players missing. David Collins not in anyway. Sorry, that was just a comment to the chat there. Ryan, Midlothian, strong performance first half. Doesn't really mean anything with the arrows so far.
Yeah, they've just been solid across the board without kind of taking it without running away with it. Probably edged it in every department. Whereas you look at the squads, that's where they probably edge it in every department. So they'll have been expecting a strong home win today. They'll be happy with a 1-0 at half time, yeah. But I think secretly the Scottish lads will have been wanting a 3 or 4-0 tonight. No, maybe not even secretly, but they'd have been expecting it.
Yeah, missed penalty could be costly. Well, we'll have to wait and see. I'll have a quick look and see what happened at that one, actually. Gerard headed the ball down for Vieri, so that was a good opening goal for him. And then he missed a penalty at some point, didn't he? When was that? It was up here. Van Bommel received a yellow card for barging into Van der Vaart. A bit of Dutch-on-Dutch action there. And Vieira missed a penalty. Andre with a save. Fifey, first half performance from Chudley Cannons. I mean, they didn't create a whole lot. It's a difficult day in the office for the Chudley boys.
I mean, again, no real surprise when you look at the talent across the league in those sort of AM positions, and then you look at Jacques and Lee Chun So. It's not the greatest partnership that you're looking at there, and they're up against a very good, well drilled side in Midlothian who know exactly what they're doing. To add my bit into the comment you were making about players from outside the league, I think you've probably got the 3 best deals from outside the league in this game in Andre, Duljaj and Back. They're probably the 3 best examples of players that have actually done a job compared to everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, Andre definitely did a decent job, as we mentioned there. Duljaj as a really good player. Difficult.
Under Timmy, they were kind of the architect of their own downfall. Didn't they sell Sebastian Frey very cheap though? Didn't they start with Frey? Am I losing my mind?
Yeah. He was rage sold in the first transfer window. So
stupid decision, wasn't it?
So that there was anyway. There was a bit of a rushed move there in getting rid of him. So yeah, there's been decisions made that weren't perhaps great in the past, and Scott's obviously doing his best to kind of rectify that. But as you know, it's difficult, and they're facing a tough opponent here. We'll have a look in the second half and see if Chudley can find a way back in. There's certainly room for improvement amongst his players. It is a breezy and wet pitch, so a lot can happen. Whether that'll be in Midlothian's favour or in favour of Chudley Cannons, we'll just have to wait and see. And there's Emre with a surprise goal in the second half. They haven't had much in the first half, but Emre is doing the business there from early on in the second half. We're already a fair bit into it. Oh, there's a bit of a.
Scott was talking up pre-game as well, so I'm glad he's got a game. He's got a goal. Sorry.
Yeah, Gallardo plays a solid right wing, I'm sure. We'll see if that becomes a problem against Roberto Carlos. 20 odd minutes to go, and it looks as if it's. I mean, Chudley are in it definitely. Both teams creating, but just not that effective. Midlothian. Lee Chun So, who was talked down by one of my co-commentators in the studio at halftime. Oh, Rocket Jr. Against his old club, as predicted by Scott. Rocket Jr. comes in there, and I think, his old employer, sticking 2 fingers up to his old employers. He's had a very tough start to life over at Chudley Cannons, but this one, he really stuck the knife in the 96th minute, I think it was. Surprise!
Very sweet victory in Yorkshire.
Is taking the fucking piss. Because the last 8 weeks, I have been raging at the likes of Asta, Hooligans, Cannons, that all the top 6 haven't been punished. Now all the teams down the fucking bottom are winning games. What the fuck is going on?
Ryan, see that private text message you sent me about rolling over against the Sloths? Does that still stand? Oh my
that
goodness.
definitely won't be happening.
Right, let's have a
Blimey.
look. Let's get into this. What a second half performance by Chudley Cannons there. My goodness. And what a horrendous second half performance from Midlothian. Obviously, Shea Given being one of the main culprits, but Roberto Carlos. Have you noticed this, by the way? If I go from Chudley to this, then it doesn't do the nicknames. So if I go in here and then go back, then it changes them. Anyway, just a little thing.
Have they changed Klumpe?
Sorry?
Have they changed Klumpe?
They've changed
I've
his
not
name.
noticed that before.
Yeah, they've changed the Dulash, Klumpe, Petkovic. I think that was it. Maybe one more. Either way, this is the performance. I mean, Roberto Carlos getting a 6, Klumpe getting a 6, Shea Given getting a 6, Scally unsurprisingly getting a 6 because he's awful. But they will probably learn one day that he's not Super League quality. But who knows? We will see. We will see. Steven Gerrard really the only one who can who kind of kept up the performance in the second half. It came back to haunt them with that penalty. Ryan, I don't think it was just down to the missing arrows on the AMCs. What went wrong here? Because they actually did a half decent job, 7s for both of them. Petkovic getting, 5 shots, only 1 on target. That's hardly an arrow's fault, to be honest. But enough of defending the assistant. What happened for Midlothian in the second half?
Well, I think maybe this is a big wake-up call, and maybe they have a look in the mirror and realise they're nowhere near as good as they think they are. Because that's generally what the answer is. I think this is a mid-table side who's had a really, really strong first half of the season. I think maybe this they've been found out. Scott's obviously had a look at the squad, look at the team, what they're performing like, and he thought, I can do these lads, and that's exactly what he's done. I mean, egg on face of Rockton Ian now. Egg on face, because they've been done there. They've been absolutely done. They're just not.
Yeah.
It's just
the amount.
It's poor.
the amount.
There's going to be people crying at Ironbury tonight.
The amount of pent-up trolling that's been released tonight, as you guys have been burning the last couple of months. Okay, so Fifey, remember at halftime where you said that Lee Chun So and Carlos Shax perhaps weren't really fit for the league. It's almost as if they heard you. With 2 assists and a goal between them. They've come good in the second half, haven't they?
Scott can thank me for showing him how to do a motivational halftime team talk. I think it's more
He's
of a
furiously
case of
taking notes.
You look at Andre there. We highlighted him at halftime. He got a 9. The fact that Midlothian decided to go to BTEC School of Finishing this week is what's cost them there. But again, it's another team that's put in a very good defensive performance. But you look at them stats there, and you have to praise the midfield for doing a job on them second half. And fair play to Chudley there. They've got a very good result against a very good team, and fucking Emre scored.
Yeah, Emre. I mean, I was going to say he didn't have the best of times at Swindon. He hasn't had the best of time at Chudley either, but I mean, at least he's on the score sheet. I mean, that's 2 goals in 3, and that's a 9 and the man of the match performance for him as well. So that'll be, it's been so up and down for Chudley. It'll be interesting to see if they can put together any kind of a run, but obviously a great result for them, and some good recruitment here. Ibrahimovic coming in, getting an 8, so a good performance all round for the guys.
Yeah, I mean, again, full credit to them for getting the result. You can see there that the majority of them have put in stellar performances. And clearly, whatever was said about the desperation to win this specific game, it's got through to the players, and they were much better second half than they were first half, and they got the result.
Yeah. I mean, all this means is that you're going to have to win your game against the Hornets later on this evening. So we'll be looking forward to that, obviously.
Yeah, no worries.
Right. Next up, we have. Oh gosh, we have Panathinaikos. Um, I think. Did I do all of this? Yes, I did. We have.
Just two teams at the top of the table. They can't both throw games against teams at the bottom for a change.
Yeah, well, yeah, you'll be looking forward to this one then.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Edgar David said as captain. Well, I'll check that while someone goes over this. Right, Five, it's your turn to do the home side, and Ryan's already had his trolling opportunity that he spent on Midlothian. So, what do you make of this Panathinaikos lineup? We've got Patrick. I don't think Patrick Powie should be playing, but who knows? I'm going to double check this while you tell me who stands out in this team for you and what you make of Cole and Riquelme and their performance after joining from Ardsley.
Again, it's a team where you look at it and they look very strong back to front. Again, another team that have maybe slightly gone off the boil in terms of performances and results over the last few game weeks, but there's a lot of quality there. You mentioned the midfield. There's a lot of creativity between Nedved, Riquelme, Cole. They don't always necessarily get the ratings that players of their quality should get. And I'm still not sure that Trezeguet is the right man to be leading the line of a team that should and probably will finish inside the top. I'm not sure about top 4, but definitely top 6. But there's a lot of quality there, and particularly defensively, that they are very, very good.
Well, it'll be good observations there, and it'll be obviously be interesting to see how they fare tonight. And they are up against Churchtown, and and Ryan, Kieran's gone asymmetrical tonight. What do you make of this one? This is just me checking my notes, by the way. Before anyone complains about me putting lines on here, Kieran has the image. I just forgot to do it when I did his tactic because it looks weird.
Yeah. I'm not massively against the asymmetrical stuff as a lot of people are. I think it is what it is. If you've got Mike Duff, who's probably better as a right wing back than he is a right midfielder, and Robin can't play left wing back, so I completely understand why he's done that. It's a strange tactic. He's well, it's not. It's kind of 2-6-2, which we'll see pretty much in nearly every game tonight. Or 2-7-1. That's generally the Super League flavour of the month, isn't it?
Two central defenders. That's definitely what's on the menu.
Yeah. He's gone with Handjog Buck. I noticed before that Oliver Kahn unhappy. He's got a couple of players unhappy. He keeps scoring goals for fun, but conceding loads and loads and loads. Yeah, I think Kieran will expect to win this, as he probably expects to win every game. I think it's going to be a tough one, though. He'll need a big performance from Barry Ferguson and Ruud van Nistelrooy. If he gets that, he'll probably get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it earlier in the season that if you're going to beat Churchtown, you have to score 3, probably 4, because it's very rare that they score less than 3. I mean, last time out they had 3 against Astor. They've repeatedly scored a bunch of goals, obviously, but it'll be difficult for them, I think, away to Panathinaikos. I can see Alf thinks it's a 2-1 win for the away side. Ryan, your prediction for this one? You think they can beat it?
I think I agree with Mr. Midlothian. Yeah, I think it'll be a Desmond 2-2.
And Fifey for you, home win, away win, draw perhaps, score draw even.
This was the highest percentage game for a draw out of all 7 in the Twitter poll vote. I'm gonna say purely because they're at home, I'm gonna say Panathinaikos win by 1.
Let's kick it off and see what happens in the first half. Panathinaikos with Trezeguet up top. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he compares to the sort of striking partnership of Van Nistelrooy, Ole Sadebe, Henrik Larsson, and the boys that have been doing the business for Churchtown so far this season. Relatively.
Got the early goal.
yeah, relatively quiet first half. Early goal for Churchtown, and not that much in terms of a follow up from them. But Panathinaikos also not really. Yeah.
Michael will be furious when he sees that one goal conceded after one shot. Yeah, it's a goalkeeper issue, isn't it? Straight away.
Dida, who has been solid. I mean, he has been one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and they have got one of the best defensive records in the league as well. But a poor performance overall from Panathinaikos, and they scored in the first half. I would say Fife, as our resident Panathinaikos expert for the evening, Trezeguet, perhaps not the right player to lead the line for him, but he's one of the few people who's actually done himself any credit so far, hasn't it?
It's the players I spoke about beforehand, Cole, Nedved, Raquelme, they're not in the game yet. They're being out-muscled and out-battled in midfield. They're three predominantly flair players. They're happy to create, but they're getting just done by the more physical opposition midfield, I would suggest there.
I think we should have a look at Soroczynski when we go over here. Someone said they were unfamiliar with Soroczynski. That's a shame because he's quite good, and he was quite good last season as well. So if you're looking for a Soroczynski, he comes from, I don't know. Does he start on a free? Surely not.
He's at Bayern Munich, I think, isn't he? In Germany somewhere, I think.
Perhaps. Or maybe because he never plays, he doesn't have a game for them, so maybe that's why he just disappears if he comes out of Bayern Munich's amateurs or something like that. But anyway, he's a solid player. Van Nistelrooy with the goal there, a bit of a chat about whether he's going to be the Golden Boot winner. Someone says that Ruud van Nistelrooy to win the Golden Boot for me. That's Scott saying that. That's a brave one, isn't it, Ryan? What do you make of Van Nistelrooy's chances of the Golden Boot?
He's definitely in with a chance. I think there's a few names. Obviously, Shevchenko is up there. I think Rossini is another one if he gets back in Scott's team who could score quite a few. Who's the ones up there? I mean, I'm always going to back Montella. I think he's got the goals in him. Who's the other one challenging at the minute? I'm forgetting someone.
Shevchenko and Vieri, I think, are the two, aren't
Vieri's the one I'm thinking. I think Vieri, if Midlothian continue to play Vieri as a lone striker, he's going to be tough to stop. Because, he thinks sometimes when you've got three quality going forward players in the same way that Valen have as in Totti, Saviola, and Shevchenko, sometimes the goals can be split between the three. But I think Vieri at Midlothian is definitely the standout of their front three.
Yeah.
Nothing against Archie Back and the Petkovic guy, but I mean, you're talking levels when you think about Christian Vieri.
And apart from his penalty taking abilities, which obviously weren't really up to much this evening, then he has got he is on, I think, on like 10 or something for the season. So pretty good for him, obviously. Interesting second half coming up. We'll see if Panathinaikos can find a way back into this, or if Churchtown are going to hold on. They haven't created much, Churchtown, so not been the greatest of games so far. But let's have a look in the second half and see what can happen. I mean, Olisadebe, Salihamidzic pulls one back for Panathinaikos, so there's hope in this one yet. But they need to tighten up at the back with Cannavaro and Udesi there. They need to do a little bit of a better job because Henrik Larsen is still in there and he is usually good for a goal as well. But obviously, if they can get one back now, bring it up to 2-2, then maybe they could even push for a third. But it's gonna have to be soon with less than 5 minutes to go of normal time. Heading towards added time. Panathinaikos keep creating chances, but just not scoring. And here comes Churchtown right at the end. Robin was in his offside position. Last chance for someone. Chances at both ends. Nope. It finishes 2-1.
Wow, that's a good game.
That was a much better second half than much more exciting. And Panathinaikos will feel a sort of is that a half champing, Fifey? What do you reckon? If you got six shots to 3 and you're losing.
No, it's just what we've seen from quite a few teams tonight, where they're just not scoring the goals that their performance deserve. But you can talk about tactical battles and this player, that player. Football's a very easy game. The team that scores the most wins. And if you don't take your chances, you're not going to win. You said at the start you need to score 4 to beat Churchtown. They needed to score 2 just to get a draw, and they didn't score 2.
Yeah, it's it's a brutal world. Pavel Nedved getting a good performance with an assist and a 9, but perhaps surprisingly, it's actually the players at the back. It's Pauve who's been like 790 average, Cannavaro 8 average. It's back there that it's not gone too well for them. Ryan, what do you think? The front three of Churchtown, I mean, Hanchuk Wood obviously getting a man of the match helps, but Van Nistelrooy and Olisadebe alone, are they good enough to outmuscle that back four of Pauve, Ambrosini, Cannavaro, Udese? Seems a little bit far fetched, really, but it seems to have been the case tonight.
I think that's what Churchtown do. They score goals, don't they? It doesn't seem to matter who they're against, even when Larsson's had an off night tonight. He's got enough going forward. You got Barry Ferguson pulling the strings, and yeah, I think those two up top give everyone trouble. I don't think that. How many games this season have they scored less than 3? Not many.
Not many, and I mean Panathinaikos, who have conceded before tonight, they conceded 4 in 6 home games, and Churchtown goes and just scores 2 because why not?
Yeah, yeah, they're going to be tough to beat Churchtown, and I think they're a team which no one wants to face in the playoffs, because even if you go into that second leg half time with a 3-goal lead, you know you've not won it yet, as Midlothian found out last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Macca's going to be gutted when he looks at those stats, though, and he sees the fact that you'd say he's been the better team out of the two. Again, which is about maybe the 4th or 5th time this season where he's probably edged the opposition and come out on the wrong end of the result. But he'll take heart from the fact that he was in the game. Kieran will be over the moon again. He's got the job done without his best performance, and
yeah, solid weekend for Kieran there, with Arsenal winning the FA Cup and Churchtown doing the business away to Panathinaikos. So he'll be pleased with that probably. So a good solid weekend for him, and that does mean that he goes top of the table, obviously, with Midlothian staying on 28, with Valen United staying on 26, Panathinaikos still on 26, and Churchtown are top of the pile. They're on 32 points, one ahead of Ardsley Celtic now. So yeah, new league leaders. That's how it stands, and that's how it's going to stay, because we've only got the 2 games of Bolton and Swindon coming up tonight, obviously. So we'll crack on with those 2, and as promised, we'll go Bolton first. I think I did your tactics, didn't I? Yeah, I did everyone's tactics, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's bang on.
And Sloths, yeah, I've definitely done that as well. There we go. Right, Ryan. So I'll let you talk us through your lineup here. Strongest is Kuhl on that side? Is Kuhl on the right hand side?
Yeah, it's both Raoul and Kuhl are left-footed. I've tried it the other way around, and it's not worked. So I've trying it this way around. So I do think this is my strongest 11 players. You probably have to raise a question mark over whether Neville's better than Arnshaw, or maybe Casillas is better than Douglas. But definitely at this point in the game, I think these are my strongest 11 players. I'll need big performances from Dede and Zambrotta the second half of the season, who, without being bad, they've just not provided the assists they did last year. Zanoni has been absolutely crucial for me across both seasons. Decor's come in and done a great job. And yeah, one of the things that I've kind of gone through this season, having injuries from Montella and Raoul, which have kind of took them out of this team. And yeah, and now they're back, and hopefully they can do the business. It was quite a tough decision this week, actually, whether to play Torres or not, because he's if he'd have scored not last week, but in the last game, he'd have kept his place. But he's come in and done a really good job whilst Montella's been injured. So it was harsh dropping him.
But looking at it, Montella with 7. With 7 goals and 4 assists in his 10 games. I mean, and he's rested, so he kind of should be in there. But that's another left-footed player, by the way, Montella, obviously.
Yes, it's a strange one, isn't it? And yeah, I can see that the Scots alluded to Torres being dropped, being quite harsh. I did feel a little bit harsh, but he's a young player, and he'll have plenty of opportunities going forward. And Ian's just mentioned Figo, who obviously piled Portugal into the Champ Manager World Cup final. So I felt after his exploits, he deserved a bit of a rest. He's not been bad this season, but yeah.
I was going to say he hasn't featured that much, but obviously you do have Kuhl in there now as well. 5E, what do you reckon? This team, are they strong enough to beat Sloths and to do you at least, so you at least get one favor done this evening?
Oh yeah, I mean, credit where it's due. That's a very, very strong squad. And as has been mentioned with other teams, it's a very good bench as well. You would argue they should be higher in the table with a squad like that than 6th. So I'd be very confident going into every game if that's the 11 I could put out. And
if we have a look at the at the Sloth side and their formation, so they've changed things up a little bit again. Ballack is dropped to the bench. I think they had him in that central midfield role, but he's gone with Van Bronckhorst and Dye and Simeone. Damien Duff, a little bit surprising on the right hand side perhaps, but this is how he lines up this evening. What do you think? Do you think Rob can expect to take something from this one with this lineup? He's obviously decided to put Crespo in as well.
Rob? Oh, sorry, I forgot Rob was the manager. Right,
you know what? Because he'd been getting some results and performances with the old tactic, but again, just looking at it, this doesn't look too bad. You look at that defensive 6, if you like, and that looks very strong. And when you've got Kesman and Crespo up front, they're the sort of partnership who one chance is all they need. In a similar way to you would say about Churchtown, that they're the sort of strikers who will score if they get a chance. So I'm not going to say Sloths will get a result, but with that team as it is, they are more than capable of getting a result.
Well, will be interesting. For me, it's always interesting. Rob always comes up with slightly different formations. I know he hasn't been been present much recently, but as mentioned, I think he's had to leave the country for various reasons. I don't know if it's similar to Ronaldinho and his fake Paraguayan passport or something like that. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what the team does in his kind of like remote management scenario that he's in. Fifey, you're going to go for a home win for this one?
Do you know what? I don't want to pile any pressure on. I know Ryan will be only too aware of all the other results that have happened in the top 6 tonight. But Bolton had the highest outright percentage for a win in the vote with 79% on Twitter. Yeah, I'm going to say that they will win 2-0.
Interesting. Ryan, your prediction for this one?
3-1.
3-1.
I feel like backing my own team too much, but I can't see anything else this game.
I can see a bunch of comments saying Solari's been playing right midfield, either footed. Why Duff to right midfield? Duff and Solari opposite sides. Yeah. That's what you think. But these are according to the manager's instructions. And instructions are instructions. If I make a mistake, such as with Kieran's arrows, because he plays on the tablet and he can't do the arrows in the tactic file or whatever, then I'll fix it. If they are according to the manager's instructions, then I'll just going to go with them. So this is what Rob has decided. So this is what's going to happen tonight. And we'll see if it'll be enough up against a strong Bolton side who's had a couple of good results recently. Oh, Van Bronckhorst from distance. Oof, who doesn't remember? Was it Van Bronckhorst who had that shot against Brazil in the World Cup some years ago from distance? Kesman firing in. Fifey getting done well and truly this evening in terms of result for the bottom half sides. Oh, Raul. Oh, no, Raul has it disallowed just before half time. Let's have a look. And no question over any kind of suspicious circles on the central defenders. I was just double checking that because.
Wayne Oldham's in charge, Martin.
Sorry?
Wayne Oldham's in charge.
Wayne Oldham's in charge.
Fucking shambles. Wayne Anthony Taylor in disguise. He's fucking shit.
Meltdown. It says meltdown incoming. It doesn't say that you're allowed to start already. You've still got 45 minutes to go.
Fucking Rab Douglas is getting a 5, Ryan.
Ryan, do you have anything to add to Jamie Carragher's assessment of the first half?
Let's have a quick look at the match stats. So let's fucking that is.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course you can.
Can't believe what's going on.
It's a fucking shit game as well.
Oh my god, that's fucking dreadful. Oh.
I better win fucking 7-0 in the next game. I swear to God.
Oh dear.
I've been fucked over right royally here.
What's
Right. So
going on here?
so I'll in the in the absence of the co-commentary team making an enormous amount of sense, I'll pass my judgment on the first half. I think Rabdog has had a howler, complete shocking performance from him in the first half. Obviously, very very unfortunate for Ryan there to concede direct free kick. Van Bronckhorst is a good free kick taker in real life. I have no idea how he plays in the game, but definitely got a good foot on him. Kerstman, proven goal scorer as well, comes up with that cross from Solari, who's clearly playing on the correct wing, despite the comments from the crowd. And that was it basically. And then the super solid block of three. Van Bronckhorst, Ndiaye, and Simeone are basically just preventing anything from happening. I mean, Christian Wern's only getting a 6, but he is only up against one striker as well. Can Bolton turn it around in the second half? Possibly.
Fucking better do.
Possibly. They'd better, did you say, Fifey?
Yeah, they better do.
Well, we'll see.
Shit out.
We'll see. I mean, Montella is at a 6 at halftime. 3 left-footed players up front as well. Maybe that's one of the things. But we'll kick off the second half and we'll see. And we can do an autopsy on it afterwards. Powerful start from Bolton Phoenix here, obviously trying their best to assert themselves in the second half and find a way back into to at least try and get a draw out of this one. 10 minutes gone and they haven't scored yet, and Somerset Sloths are creating a couple of chances again, and then time kind of flies past. But there's Verong, that's his 5th of the season. 15 minutes to play, 10 minutes to play. Bolton still creating chances. Can they rescue a draw here? I mean, it's technically possible. We're into overtime. Nope.
This is why I describe Bolton Phoenix as the worst fucking title defence in Super League history. Something like this.
Yeah, well, you say that, Fifey. I don't know what has gone before. They obviously had a bit of a better look in the second half.
No,
Ryan, I'll let.
No analysis needed. I beat Sloths twice this year, Ryan. You're fucking shit.
Right.
That's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened since I started playing Champ. That is fucking horrific.
Well,
what I was going to say, that is the worst performance that Bolton Phoenix have ever played. That is the worst performance I've ever had on Champ Manager, period. It's fucking, that is an absolute disgrace.
I told you, we're agreeing on so many things tonight.
I mean, you did mention that Henshaw might have been better off on the bench and then Neville playing. I mean, I'm not saying it would have turned the game around for you, but I presume there's with 2 completed tackles out of 7 compared to Yab Stam's 14 and 11 and 8 key. I presume that there could be a place on the bench for Stefan Henshaw next time out.
Can I ask
as well.
one question directly?
Yeah.
Ryan, do you still think dropping Torres was the right fucking idea?
Well, I think hindsight's 20/20, isn't it? I think maybe this tactic, knowing what Rob's played now, or whoever's managing him, is maybe probably not the best tactic. Probably should have gone 2 up top, and then 3 in the midfield rather than what I've done. But yeah, I stand behind what I've picked. It's I picked a better team, better tactics than him, and this is Champ Man at his best. Really, he's got some fucking. I don't know. I don't want to be abusive, but he's got some players there who shouldn't be in the league, having the games of life, and yeah, it is what it is.
I don't know if you noticed, but Sloths also had a penalty turned down. It could have been worse.
Oh, I missed that, to be honest. But yeah, they had a decent.
A defeat at home to Sloths is up there with only just beating Swindon away.
Yeah, you scraped that one 1-0 as well, didn't you? That's true. That's true. Actually, that was a nail. But you were on together as well for that one, weren't you? Or were you?
No,
I can't remember. Or was it just Ryan that was on?
Comms.
Oh yeah. Well, either way, let's have a quick look at the Sloth's performance. I mean, no outstanding players. It is a little bit of a poor performance, I would say, from the home side, without being too cruel. I mean, obviously, Kessman getting the goal, he had a solid performance. Simeone did a good job, kind of breaking down any of the attacks in midfield there. Good tackling percentage from the defensive Sloth players as well. Nothing really outstanding, just a little bit of an off day, a little
That
bit of a
were.
And,
poor finishing from Bolton there as well. 2 shots on target out of 5 is not really what they'd be looking at. And as Ryan mentioned himself in the beginning of the show, there should be 12 points from these 4 games. That's down to 9 now. So we'll see. We will see. Ian mentioned there in the comments he knew something was up when BTEC won, which perhaps there's something to be said about. But in the interest of time, I'm going to move on to the
interesting.
final game of
Both
the season, which is going to be Swindon Devils up against Hoddesdon Hornets, and we'll see if the meltdown will continue or if or if justice will prevail and Swindon will pick up a win here. We'll have to wait and see.
unbelievable. Both of Mr. Edwards' teams have won tonight. That's fantastic.
Yeah, well, when you when you've got that inside knowledge, then you can make things happen. Libropoulos obviously needs a squad number. He's on the bench, I believe, for 5 feet tonight. We'll have a look. So other teams in the bottom half aside, 5 feet, your starting lineup unchanged, I think, from last week, apart from maybe someone on the bench.
That's correct. Yeah. The only change is the new signing getting a place on the bench. It's the same 11 that beat Sloths last weekend or the previous game weekend. And you'll notice, with the exception of Cole and Mills having slightly longer arrows, it's the exact same tactics that Ryan played as well. So just showing him how it's done.
And you think this will be enough against it, because it's a very similar formation, but I do have to warn you that that Hornets are playing a very similar formation to the formation that Rob played this evening, which obviously Ryan was struggling to break down. But we'll obviously see what happens. In terms of Chris, just a little bit too soon for him to throw him in at the deep end, or are you quite happy with the way that Mendes has been performing next to Montero, who will miss a game due to yellow cards shortly anyway, but
yeah, this is it. I mean, Chris is left-footed, so he would have to play in Montero's position. Montero, since coming back from his long injury, has been in decent form. Just highlighting, there's a comment there about Danny Mills being the weak point. Everyone's been taking the piss out of Danny Mills all season, but I think his form the last couple of games has been good. He stopped Balmer a couple of games ago, which quite a few people have struggled to do. I'm still waiting to see the best of Zidane. I know Ryan's a big fan. I've been told to keep him in the attacking midfield position, so he's staying in the attacking midfield position. I'm hoping Cliver will pick up the goal trail. But if not, I'm quite excited to get Nikos in the team and see what he can do. On a couple of home saves I've been doing, I've signed him, and he does the business for me, goals and assists. He normally plays in the position that Zidane's playing at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I was very confident going into tonight that I could get the result, but the way it's going, I'm going to get fucking shithoused. I can see it. And Samuel Eto'o has obviously got that stupid backwards arrow, so that's going to wreak havoc for me. I'm now genuinely quite concerned.
Well, we'll have a look. Great arrows here as well. We did have that. Well, I don't know if it ever turned into discussion, because I think people just ignored it. I don't know. I said, "Can you actually have a backwards pointing arrow? Does that make any sense?" And people just kind of let it slide. Ryan, what do you reckon? Backwards arrow? Yes or no?
It's something that you see the AI do a lot. I'm not a huge fan of it. I've not seen another. Well, this is probably the first time I've seen another human player use those tactics. It does make a little bit of sense, though. It just means that they've got the three up top for a long ball. Then when they're in possession, Eto drops a little bit deeper to try and create things.
I think he might have gotten a goal out of it.
Really,
did he not get a goal out of it last time out? Didn't he? Did Eto not score in that one? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah. Sorry.
No, you found he's not changed his team, has he? I think considering how many injuries and things like that, he's actually done well to scrape a decent team.
Oh yeah, in case you missed it, he's got Davies, Gudjonsson, Lundberg, and Lucio. So a central defender, 2 defensive midfielders, and one of his few attacking midfielders are out injured. So he has a bit of a selection crisis here tonight.
And David Dunn still couldn't get a place on the bench. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I think he's fallen out of favour apparently.
Yeah, I think considering the injuries he's got, I think he's actually put an all right team out there. Yeah, it's that formation away against the formation Fife he's playing. I'd have thought never in a million years is that going to work, but let's see, unless it's just worked. So.
And Frey in goal, we spoke about him earlier. He obviously joined Hornets in exchange for something. He didn't have the best of seasons last season, but neither did Hornets in general, to be honest. So we'll see what he comes up with tonight. Your prediction for this one, Ryan? You think the bottom? I mean, we are in the situation where these are 2 bottom half sides that are playing each other. And we haven't seen this since the Astor Hools game earlier this evening. So. Will the lower positioned side luck continue, or how do you see this one?
In the same way I thought that BTEC versus Ardsley was a home banker, I think this is a home banker as well. Obviously, these things haven't been working out that way this season, but I think Fifey will do it tonight. I would like to put an offer on the table for Fifey as well, because he's not playing Franco. I'll offer a Casillas for Franco right here, right now, with the chairman able to ratify.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if Franco is falling out of favor. Do you fancy a swap, Fifey, for Franco for Casillas? A very public deal.
Ryan's made a couple of offers for players in the not too distant past. As I've pointed out, I'm going to wait until we get the full league legislation on how many transfers we're allowed before I open proper discussions with people.
Yeah, that's
with a couple of different permutations for whether we're allowed 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, and who I would allow go in those situations.
That's a fair point, that isn't it, Frank? Because basically there's been no information released, so in essence, no transfers could have been confirmed so far because we don't know if we're allowed any so far.
No, it's 2. It's 2. It was always 2. It says on the paper.
Oh,
Anyway, I'm going to kick this one off because otherwise we'll get nowhere. And Fifey's lost all his meltdown energy, so we'll see if we can bring it back. Are you ready for excitement? Here goes. Swindon Devils at home to Hoddesdon Hornets, last game of the evening. Will the underdog kind of lower position side continue their good run? Let's have a look. Zidane and Kluivert combining early on to see if they can create chances for Swindon Devils. Etu picking up an injury. This is going to be terrible, isn't it? Because Luca Toni is going to be garbage.
Give Tonton a go. Tonton, surely, coming back to AMC.
Probably slightly better than Tony at that. That's fucking... doesn't matter. Anyway.
I was thinking Tonton Mukoko would have been.
I was thinking that Tonton Mokoku shouldn't be in the league. Never mind in the bench for Hoddesdon Hornets, but we'll see. David Dwight. Oh, this. I do this often. I go, who's got David Dwight? It's the referee. But we can chat about the referee because there's not that much going on in terms of goal action on the pitch, obviously. Kind of decent number of chances created for both sides, but nothing really to...
Wouldn't have definitely been on top, haven't they? But not really taking their chances.
Yeah, a couple of good chances there towards the end for Devils, who's had the better of the first half. Let's have a look at the performance. Fifey, in terms of your side's first half performance, I mean...
Zidane again, 6. There's only certain things you can be sure of in life. There's taxes, there's death, there's Montero yellow cards, which he's not had yet, and Zidane getting a 6. It's annoying, and I'll be honest, I'm getting fucking stressed here. My heart's beating. I'm just getting sweaty. I need to fucking just put the ball in the net, lads. We've got fucking Kluivert, Ronaldo, Zidane, Seedorf, all in that team, and none of them can fucking score.
Yeah, it's been a tough evening so far watching Zidane and Ronaldo. I think it's two players that people. I mean, I've seen people having pretty good. I mean, they're not the most popular team when you consider who people play with. How many people do like a proper Real Madrid save and just utilize having Ronaldo and Zidane? I don't think a lot. So maybe they aren't really that good. And it's not that often that you see Real Madrid winning the Champions League the first season either. So maybe they aren't all that they're cracked up to be. But we'll see what happens in the second half. Ryan, Hornets' performance, I mean, a little bit like Swindon's performance, as no one really stands out. It's been a little bit of a, yeah.
Goalkeeper's played well. I mean, yeah, there's not really too much to talk about, so I won't go into too much. You'd be disappointed to lose Etor. Be delighted that it's 63, so it might not like a serious one. Not many passes from anyone in the forward half of the pitch. His two main men up top have barely touched it. All the shots from Cesarco. Frey being the main man. Yeah, I'll let you crack on. It's not really been much to talk about there.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see if we can put Fife out of his misery in terms of his side not scoring. I mean, they did have a little bit of an upper hand. Oh, there's Tigalco with the opener for Hornets. Obviously, finding himself quite a lot of space in that role with the backwards arrow. Devils continue to pile on the pressure to some extent, but not really finding a way through this kind of new meta formation that Rob and Craig has decided to come up with the three defensive midfielders. And it finishes 1-0 away victory for Hornets. Nothing in the second half, unfortunately, for the Devils. Performance-wise, a sevens across the board.
It's one of them where we haven't done too much wrong, but we haven't done anything right. Still can't score goals, which is for a team that's bottom of the league. We're still not conceding a lot. It's just we can't score goals, and I just can't work out why I'm struggling to score goals with this team.
I mean, this is 7 home games and 4 goals so far.
Pathetic.
The season, which is not enough. To be fair, if things are going to be turned around, but rather than dwell too much about it, let's have a quick look at the Hornets side. So Luca Toni comes in, and I mean, again, the quality of the match, you've got to put that into question. To be completely honest, if man of the match is an 8 Luca Toni that comes in and gets an assist, then it's been a bit of a rough one, to be completely honest. Ryan, your assessment on the game overall?
I've just poured myself a Bushmills after that. Fucking.
You can get fucked now.
No, I was talking about my own performances, Pipey, not really. Yeah, but let's be honest. That was it was not too much happening in the game. Hodds had a good second half and have probably been the best of a bad bunch. The fact that they've got two decent strikers who can score has probably won them the game. Yeah, there is issues going forward for the Devils. That's what I'd say. I can't really put my finger on the answer because I like Ronaldo. I like Zidane. I know he got a bit of flack at half time. Zidane got a 7 at the end of the game, but he's putting the ball in the back of the net, which seems to be the issue. And yeah, I can't put my finger on it, and I can't really handing out advice after getting beaten on by Sloths.
Well, commentator's curse continues, so beware anyone who volunteers. That is a little bit. Oh, Ian says won't be doing comms all season now. Curse back big time. Well, it does look a little bit like that. On that note, I do have a bit of a of an announcement in terms of next week's show. But let's have a quick look at the results this evening. So a relatively low-scoring evening actually. Chudley Cannons being the highest-scoring team of the night. Hands up, who'd predicted that? I think it'll be a fairly low show of hands in this particular scenario, but a solid 3-win for victory for them as well. Churchtown big winners of the night as well. Let's have a look at how all of this impacts the table. Yeah, clearly.
Alf never singles people out for criticism like that. That's very unlike him. He's blaming. It's my fault that my team can't score.
Well. That's a rough. But didn't Alf? Who called out? Oh, it was Chris Mack. It was. I was gonna say who the fuck called out Alf like 2 weeks, whatever it was. That was Chris that did
Is
that.
that
Yeah.
5 of the top 6 got beat tonight?
Yeah. So Churchtown obviously a good
That's
night for
mad.
them. They go top of the table with that win. Arsley lost, Midlothian lost, Valen lost, Palmer lost, Bolton lost, Astor won. Good result for them.
Hooligans lost as well. 6 of the top 7.
Hooligans down there, yeah, they were in seventh before. So out of the top seven, it was actually only Churchtown. Yeah, that's a rough one, but that makes it a little bit more interesting, I would say, with Astra on 20, with Dragons on 20. Dragons a bit of a they left it very late. Remember this, guys. Dragons left it very late and ultimately stumbled last season, but they did pick up pace around this time of the season with like 8-10 games to go. They picked up pace and then ultimately didn't do enough at the end. But Dragons definitely second half of the season team. Hornets with obviously the victory with a decimated squad again. If Craig doesn't do some kind of weird tactical nonsense, then he might still do well. Chudley, I don't know if this was a one-off or not, but Scott will be delighted nevertheless with the 3 points and that victory. Sloss on 15, BTEC on 14. Obviously, all of these teams. I mean, I know it's the roughest. It's the roughest for 5 because they didn't pick up the points, but it's still not like ideal for guys like say Ian going, oh yes, we finally won. We broke the we broke the streak of 7 or whatever defeats in a row, and they're still 13th because everyone else down there won as well. Of the teams above them that they were trying to catch, so that's obviously not worked out in their favor either. So yeah,
I was just thinking to it there, but basically with the only one, only Churchtown in the top 7 winning their game, and Swindon the only team in the bottom 7 losing their game, and this is a team which is going to make a run for 10th, I believe, or at least 10.
well, hooligans kind
Well,
of.
they dropped down tonight, but they were 7.
You look at you with just your little 4-point gap now with the dotted line. You could be the only defending champions not to even make the fucking playoffs at this rate. You perform like you did tonight ever again. Absolute shambles.
Kirkham Hall never qualified the year after they won the title, so I'm not buying. But
Rapid Apollo made it every year, didn't they?
yeah, but Firkham Hall won it, and then they didn't qualify the year season after.
No, so it's not unprecedented. Either way, a quick look at the team stats. I want Ian to see this one. Games without winning. And there's not a BTEC side in sight, but look who's top of this table. Valen United, 5 games without a win. That's a rough one. When we're talking about clubs that could go on a good or a bad run, then 5 games without winning for last season's finalists. That's a bit of a tough one, I think, and an interesting stat to look at. Games without losing, Churchtown obviously doing very, very well. Dragons, as I mentioned, they're on picking up a bit of form. Hoddesdon Hornets. I mean, it's obviously a tough defeat for Swindon, but that's 3 games in a row now for Hornets getting a good result there. So yeah, there's a couple of form issues to discuss there as well. Something for the managers watching or for anyone else interested that you can perhaps ponder on. In terms of player stats, Vieira, who didn't play tonight, part of the reason perhaps Ardsley didn't get a result. Kufre still up there. Sloths, Taibi, maybe one of the key reasons why Sloths aren't doing too bad as well. Taibi with an 820 average, only conceding 10. Look at the stats of this boy, and only conceding 10 goals in 10. Very, very good performance from him. Van Nistelrooy in there as well, and a couple of familiar faces. Not that many Bolton Phoenix players as there were last season. The wingbacks not really dominating as much as they were. Sambrata and Dede, I think, is the other one, isn't it? So yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, if we have a look at the goals, Shevchenko, Vieri, Van Nistelrooy, as Scott mentioned, in with a shout. Brosic still actually on 9 goals. He's done quite well as well. Churchtown with what 1, 2, 3. 4 players out of the top 13. So yeah, and that's obviously reflected in the table. They are still they're just falling short of their 3 goals a game with 43 in 15, but they are proven obviously a very difficult team to beat with that kind of productivity. Guys, that kind of sums it up. Any last words of wisdom? Anything you would like to share that doesn't necessarily have to be an insult to anyone?
It's been a fucking dreadful night for me. Fair play to the teams down there that have all got wins, because there was quite a few shock results tonight. You know, my feelings and my personal thoughts on what I needed from their results aside. You look at the likes of BTEC and the injury crisis at Hornets and the desperation in the no rivalry grudge match for Chudley. And they've all got wins tonight that perhaps in some corners weren't expected. So fair play to them. And yeah, we roll on to next week in what should be another entertaining evening of Super League action.
Another nail biter. Ryan, your final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, big night of upsets. Obviously, myself getting beat at home to Sloths. I mean, looking at the poll before the game, I don't think anyone really expected that coming. Least of all myself. Obviously, the Chudley Cannons that's a huge victory for them against Midlothian. One which is definitely very, very sweet for Scott, I've no doubt. I'm glad that Ian's got BTEC firing. It must have been quite a frustrating watch over the past few weeks as well. As much as he's got that strong squad, but just to see that team, unbeknownst to him, just keep getting beat by the odd goal must have been so infuriating.
Six game in a row with a disallowed goal, apparently.
Yeah, that's incredible. But so I'm glad he's got that monkey off his back and got the win.
Another big week down the bottom.
Yeah, I was going to say just quickly, very, very quickly, just conscious of the time. Looking forward to the action next weekend. Chudley Cannons at home to Dragons. That's two of the informed teams. Well, not informed for Chudley way maybe, but they've definitely put out a good display tonight, and they'll play Dragons. That'll be interesting. Churchtown against Midlothian. They conceded 3 tonight. We wonder if they'll concede 3 against Churchtown. It'll definitely be a big one. We've got Hornets up against Phoenix. We've got Hooligans there at home to Palmouth and Icos. Another tricky one for Chris after his unfortunate defeat there. We've got Sloths at home to Asta. Yeah, I mean it's a tricky one for Asta. Rob not doing too badly. Swindon BTEC obviously a huge match at the bottom of the table, and we've got Valiant United taking on Ardsley. So a couple of big clashes in the top 6 there as well. On this note, it is unlikely that I will be available to host a show on Sunday night at 9 p.m. So I will have to see what people fancy in terms of alternatives. I can either record it and do it as a live premiere and show it to everyone like we did for round 12, where it starts at 9 and it carries on as normal, or we can do the show another date. So that's kind of out there for people to consider.
On a similar sort of note, while people digest that, with the action being back, the midweek show is going to be back this week, and I'm hoping, it's not been 100% confirmed, but I'm hoping to have 2 never been on before guests this week, which should be quite interesting.
That will definitely be interesting. We'll keep our fingers crossed and keep eye out for that. I can see Alfie saying that he would prefer pre-recording. I would prefer that as well, because I would prefer the show to go out at 9 o'clock on Sunday like we always do. But I'll have a bit of a think about it, and I'll obviously let you guys know what the outcome will be of that. On that note, 11:15. Got things to do, places to be, in bed, sleeping mostly. So thanks very much for joining, guys. It was a pleasure. It's great to have the Super League back. I thoroughly enjoyed it after my break, so that's a big positive. Lots of upsets, lots of results. I'll try and get the packs out as soon as possible with the fixtures and everything in them as well. With rest of season fixtures actually for you guys, I should say. I'm going to try and put that in. I think I can fit them on one screenshot now, so that should be fine. And yeah, I'm looking forward to obviously getting in touch with you throughout the week, and looking forward to next weekend's action. So thank you very much for everyone who watched at home, and thank you very much, Ryan and Fifey, for joining me in the studio.
Cheers, Martin. Nice to speak to you, Martin, Fifey.
Yeah, cheers, Martin.
Good night, everyone. Good night.
See you guys.